We're back.
We're back with Evan.
Pain, tears, darkness.
Yeah, we're back with episode number 114 of Hyperspace Hype, where today we're discussing episode 5 of the Acolyte titled Night. And Evan, how did we get here?
You know, Nathan, we all expected, we came into this episode being like, okay, there's going to be death. People have been like, oh, how can this guy be a Sith and like the Jedi don't find out what's going on here? I think a lot of the internet knew people were going to die because this is a big character, the stranger, finally revealing himself to the Jedi in episode 4. And we got a lot of death, and it was not what I expected. It broke my heart. Like, this was the most I've ever... We talked about it last week. Like, this is the most I've ever been anticipating an episode, because episode 4 kind of ends on a cliffhanger of sorts. We talked about it, not a cliffhanger. It's just an abrupt ending. Fuck it. But it was so vital. Episode 4 was so vital to understanding and truly being entertained and truly being... I don't know the word, filled by what episode 5 had to deliver. Basically, everything episode 4 set up was perfectly executed in episode 5. Night, day into night. And this episode was a blast, but also heartbreaking, but also like pure Star Wars entertainment and symbolism, and everything I love about Star Wars was in this episode. This is not only easily the best episode of The Acolyte, but one of the best episodes I've seen of live action Star Wars in general. This eclipses things I've seen for years now on Disney Plus. So I'm just so excited. I'm so thrilled to finally be talking about this episode, and there's a lot to break down. A lot of sadness, man. Wait, before we talk about all this sadness, Nathan, what were your overall thoughts following the once the episode went to credits? How were you feeling? Were you still on the floor wiping up your tears?
Well, I was mainly thinking, like, damn, why are there 4 ad breaks in this 30-minute episode? They're 2 minutes each, and I was, Evan, it happened like she got taken down, and then it was like 2 minutes of ads immediately after. I was like, that's bullshit.
Right when Jackie got taken down.
Not right away, but it's like, there was just some exchange words, and then as we're cutting back to Jordan Osha, they're like, do you have travel plans? And I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, guys, get the Disney Plus ad-free plan. Yeah.
On the new Capital One Venture card, you can fucking save on Jedi holes, getting impaled. Fucking sadness.
Wow.
I'm not happy, Bob. I am, but I'm sad, Bob.
It's great, and I love this feeling. Like, we came in again expecting the retros to die, but Jackie, Yord, and Soul. I figured I had Soul. If somebody put a gun to my head before episode 5 came out, I would have said, okay, Soul's dying. Jackie and Yord live somehow. Remember last week I was kind of sus on Soul, sus on Yord. But I retract all my theories. I'm so sorry, Yord. You're the best. You're the GOAT.
How's the stranger's hands looking now?
Not black.
Right.
I
remember you saying that. I was like, aren't they? Oh, isn't it just the lighting?
It looked really black. Like, I don't know. I said it could have been the lighting, but it didn't look like the lighting. Because literally, when I was watching the episode for the first time, on episode 4 at least, Jalen and I both noticed it. We both like stood up. Was like, wait a second, that's not Chimera, it's the hand. Anyways, I don't know, and I can't even argue like that was just dumb performer, because we now know Manny Jacinto did as much as he could as under the mask as humanly possible. So that's great to see. There's also some great Manny Jacinto behind the scenes fighting stuff. If you want to watch that on his Instagram, that's very fun.
Daphne Keane sharing some stuff too.
Exactly. Yeah. Daphne. Yeah. basically follow Daphne, Manny, and Amanda and all them on Instagram. And but yeah, just great physical combat, man. The combat, man, the lightsaber combat. We knew going into the Acolyte in general, the forcefulness of it all was going to be prominent. You know, episode 1 and 2 really delved into that kind of force combat, and we loved that. Soul versus May versus Indara, great stuff. But this episode takes it to the next level by seeing a Sith who just is feral and insane in his combat that we haven't seen in quite some time. It was insane.
Yeah, man. It really just like, frankly, went off the rails in what I expected.
Yeah, big time. And I was expecting him. I was expecting Jedi to get murked. I was expecting him to go off, but his fighting style was so unique, and that was really unexpected because he comes down so like ominously, he means business. Force pushes them, and it's like, wow, this guy is super powerful. We get a sense of power in episode 4. But episode 5 turns that power into like a trapped wolf who just kills everything in his path. It was really gnarly to see. But yeah, we got peak performances from Manny Jacinto here. And, that's another thing. I was wrong about the soul thing, and I was kind of wrong with the Chimera, but I kind of not. Like every episode I would say, me and you both, we're like, I don't think it's Chimera because it's too obvious. But if it is Chimera, I hope they, 1, execute it perfectly, and 2, reveal it now, episode 5, instead of the finale. That way, it's less of a reveal or more about like, okay, this is a natural reveal of the show, not a huge like, oh my gosh, reveal. There's a difference. And we're gonna be referencing the EW article that Leslie, Amanda, Manny, Daphne, they all contributed to the EW article that released on Wednesday following the deaths of episode 5. And in the article, there was a great quote from Leslie here that I want to read. It was really good and it really captures why this thing was so important. Why it was so important here. So she says, the body count was something she really wanted to surprise people about, but not the actual identity of the stranger. The showrunner, Leslie Headland, anticipated Manny would figure out Chimera/stranger connection before the unmasking, but she was totally cool with that because she wasn't trying to fool anyone in the first place, intentionally leaving breadcrumbs along the way. And we saw the breadcrumbs were, it wasn't even breadcrumbs in episode 4. It was bread. It was loaves of bread, loaves of bread in episode 4. It's like, oh, remember Soul? Yeah. Osa's really connected to the guy named Soul, right, May? Like, oh, man.
What was his name? What do you think the master meant?
Yeah,
he made a promise.
Yeah, he made a deal. Yeah, well, he made a deal. Just remember, even if Osa's alive, you still have to keep on with the deal. Wink, wink. Don't make me kill you. No. Very funny. But then she goes on to say, I think a good twist is not about hiding everything from the audience and then throwing it at them like, hey, this is what you didn't see. We hit it so well that you didn't see this. She says, instead, I think a good twist is telegraphing what's going to happen. And then once it does, executing it without an ounce of pity or sentimentality. I think this is really well done. There are great twists. And this is similar to how I measure jump scares in horror movies, right? Like jump scares are some of the best ones are the ones that you can see building up. Classically, the one on Nathan's channel, Exorcist 3, that jump scare builds up. It's just not like somebody walking down the hall and then boom, like that's just like throwing it at us. This one, the shot lingers, you go back and forth. There's a great hallway scene. If people have not seen Exorcist 3, I'm not going to explain it because go watch it. But it's just great.
I mean, you just said it is a hallway scene, so now
it's a hallway scene. Anticipation. Yeah. But there's the whole movie set in the hospital. There's a lot of hallway scenes. Anyways, so yeah, go watch Exorcist 3. But yeah, the best jump scares are the ones that like build. Same thing for twists, ones that build. And I instantly, when I'm reading this, I thought of Rian Johnson and not necessarily Knives Out, because that Knives Out was more of a twist within Ana de Armas' character that gets like built up in the beginning. Also really well done, but mostly in Glass Onion, where the twist, spoilers for Glass Onion, Knives Out, one of the more popular movies on Netflix. So if you haven't seen it, F off. But first, like and subscribe. But in Glass Onion, it was pretty damn obvious that what's his name? Edward Norton was the killer. Like, he was the asshole friend. Everybody else seemed pretty decent. Yeah, in the back of your mind are like, yeah, if it's not him, who else could it be? I wonder who else could it be. But early on, you can kind of figure out it's him. But that's not the big twist. The big twist is about Janelle Monáe's character and the truth behind her, different characters in the movie. So yeah, I like how she said it here. It's like, yeah, the Chimera thing was obvious. That's not called bad writing, people. The Chimera stuff is obvious. So it's obviously bad writing. If you think that, fair enough. I disagree. But what I'm saying is I don't mind that it was obvious, because that's not the big twist of the show. And people really want to go back to the whole we were sold on this being a mystery thriller set in the Star Wars universe. It's
like, if I'm watching the prequels, I'm like, oh my god, who do we think the Sith Lord behind everything? Who do we think Sidious is? We know it's Palpatine, but the question is, how the fuck does he pull this off? How does he wipe out most of the Jedi?
Exactly. The question is, it's not even a mystery. It's just like, how does he do it? It was similar to like BVS. Like, how does Batman come out of this alive? But anyways, and I like to hear where, it was obvious, but the reveal right after Jackie's death, just seeing him with his 2 lightsabers, camera pans.
Well, that was I missed it the first time. I missed the first time him like pulling out the second blade from the hilt.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Because Jackie sliced it a little bit, and he's like, chink, and then just immediately triple taps her, guys.
I think that's what made it so like jarring and like hurt so much, is just the brutality in rapid succession that you had no time to even process, like, even like, because we've seen people get stabbed at this point, like, and we have hope. There is no hope for this one. Oh man, that hurt a lot, especially like starting with. I feel like at that point, when I saw that Jackie was taken off the board, I truly felt, I don't think anybody is safe. And I was just like, praying. I was like, man, I hope Yord's okay. like everybody, later. But like, then Yord comes in swinging, and I'm like, dope. Careful.
Yeah, he wasn't careful. Yord's death is probably even more brutal. Like 3 stabs is like, whoa, that's excessive. But Yord just, the casualness of getting your neck snapped, a Jedi getting his neck snapped.
The disrespect, frankly.
It was insane. Like we see, I mean, I don't want to say we see, but like throughout the Clone Wars, we've seen some brutal stuff happen to like clone troopers or droids. Maul gets cut in half. Like, the bad guys get effed up pretty badly in Star Wars. We know this. Sidious gets vaporized. But the brutality of just a neck snap is like, what are we watching? Like, that is brutal and so jarring.
It wasn't like a cutaway or anything. It was just like, it was there.
It was there. It was full on. Breaks his arm, puts him on his knees, snaps his neck, and continues talking. Just throws him away like he's just trash. Man, it was insane. So let's break this all down. Yeah.
I mean, they did nothing wrong. They don't deserve that.
They really don't. And we'll get to it all. But, Yord, he was, runaway civilian. He was taking her, doing his job, doing his duty as a Jedi Knight.
But he came back.
He came back. But if he would have done his duty as somebody like, I'm a Jedi, I'm supposed to be doing my duty. A master gave me instruction. I'm supposed to do that, complete the instruction. And if he does that, he lives. But he does, like, a noble thing, going back to save Soul. It's just, it didn't end well for him.
What does he have to show for it?
Death, a cracked neck.
Morals? No.
Morals. So yeah, this was insane. Just a great episode. And I know people were talking about the combat, but I really fell in love with the performances and the character moments. Every single line basically of Chimera / the Stranger. I'm very curious if we get, like, even in the articles, and I know they always have to call him the Stranger in the press. They call him the Stranger, the Stranger, the Stranger.
Yeah.
Are we going to get a Darth name? Is he a Darth? We'll discuss that. But
is he a Ren?
Is he a Ren? Spoiler alert.
Musical cues
I don't
from
think so.
the
There
sequel
is.
used.
Yeah. Kylo's like, that's mine. That's mine. So yeah.
Oh, let's go.
Let's break this whole episode down. I took a lot of notes. Basically, just a lot of like keep myself measured in terms of like where this episode goes. Because there's a lot of fighting. There's also a lot of character moments in between the fighting, especially the dialogue. The dialogue was very intriguing. Like I was saying earlier, I wrote down a lot of the lines from the Stranger Chimera here. Because he has loaded lines, and I want to use this podcast to really get into his motivations. What does he want? What are his ultimate end goals as we head for the last 3 episodes? Like, this is such a game-changing episode for the show. That is crazy that we have 3 episodes left with most of our cast gone. It's just Amandla, Manny, and Soul. Yeah. Amandla, Manny, and JJ, Lee Jung-jae. So that's insane. Like, the set must be wiped clean. The set's like, hey, we just have 3 people coming to set today, just going to different locations.
Oh man,
it's interesting. But the EW article does lead some breadcrumbs towards some clues towards what's happening next. Just breadcrumbs today. Yeah, no slices. I just had dinner, so I'm good on the bread. I'm good on the carbs.
Well, I'm hungry. So.
And before we end the episode, before we start the episode, quick aside. quick episode. We're done, guys. Quick aside before we start Acolyte. We haven't talked about any news for Star Wars in a long time. There hasn't been any news for a long time. It doesn't matter. Yeah. But we did get a snippet of something that was revealed earlier this week. Ben Mendelsohn's coming back.
Oh, yeah.
For Andor Season 2. And I just got to say, fuck yeah. That's awesome. And this is something we both wanted, when theorizing. In the Bad Batch, yes. I think we did theorize that. Like, the Bad Batch could, he could come on in.
He was there for a second.
He was. But Andor specifically, I think we mentioned this last, in 2022 when we were doing the Andor episodes. We're like, who can show up in Season 2? Because we're getting closer and closer to Rogue One. Ben Mendelsohn's one of the best actors out there in general. It'll be so much fun if we see his exploits prior to Rogue One. And I don't think it's not confirmed, but I forget who even broke it. I forget the news site who broke it, so I'm sorry. But didn't write that down. But Ben Mendelsohn returning as Krennic, seeming very likely, and it makes a lot of sense here. Nathan, what do you think?
I think it's great. Krennic is one of my favorite new era villains to watch.
I agree. He was easily my favorite part. I'm not a huge Rogue One fan, guys. My second least favorite Star Wars movie. But it's fun. They're all good-ish. Yeah, I think Rogue One's a solid. Like, the more I don't want to say the more I revisit it, because I really don't revisit Rogue One. But it's a solid 3. I used to think it was like a 2.5. But I think it's a solid 3. I think Andor really helped elevate it, but we'll see if Andor Season 2 can elevate it even more. But just that Andor Tony Gilroy dialogue, those long scenes like that we're so used to with Andor, like, give me some of that with Ben Mendelsohn, man. Let him cook. Like, just what we got with Skarsgård last season. I'm like, oh, put Ben Mendelsohn in this show? Come. He can be talking to a freaking android. I don't give a fuck. It'll be amazing to watch. I can't wait to see what Ben Mendelsohn can chew up the scenery in Andor Season 2. Which is going to be going around a lot of timelines. Remember, guys, it's like we're following the same 3-episode arcs, I think. But after each episode or each arc, we're going to be multiplying by 3 years, 6 years, leading up into the beginning of Rogue One. Even Cassian, Diego Luna said recently that if you love Rogue One, you're going to be looking at it differently following the events of Andor season 2. He can't say much, of course, but that is the one show. Again, that's the one show that we're getting in 2025 confirmed. And it might be the only Star Wars show we're getting in 2025 because Ahsoka has not started filming yet. Season 2 was confirmed, though. I know there was some Ahsoka casting stuff that was rumored, dropped a few hours ago.
I've been seeing some random.
It's bullshit.
Currently.
Some what?
Hayden's been doing like press stuff.
Yeah, what was it for? I mean, I see Hayden and Rosaria, right?
Yeah.
Duh, it's the Emmy season, Emmy press.
Okay.
That's what it was. I don't think it's been officially nominated for anything yet. It's for your consideration. Mm-hmm. I personally, Ahsoka was fine. Might not be one of the best limited series of 2023, but we'll see. Falcon and Winter Soldier was nominated, so you never know.
Yeah. And
Nathan's favorite show. I'm sorry. That's your favorite show.
Pretty good. It's up there.
But let's dive into this shit. Acolyte episode.
Sorry.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
There was. I mean, this is just like offhand rumor, but for Daniel RPK as source, it's looking like they will be moving forward with the character of Baylan Skoll for season 2 of Ahsoka, and will potentially be looking to recast
them, which we all thought. Yeah, I saw that too. Somebody said like if they don't cast Gerard Butler as Baylan Skoll, they don't know what they're doing. To the
tweet. I was like, wow.
And I'm a Gerard fan. If a Gerard movie's in theaters tomorrow, I'll be there. I love Gerard.
You were there at the last one.
Greenland, the angel has fallen, Olympus has fallen.
There was a plane.
Plane with Mike Coulter. Great movie. So I saw Geostorm, Moonfall. Like I'm a huge the submarine one. I forget what that was called. But I've seen them all. He's a great person and great character actor, but nah. Nah.
I remember the initial casting for the fan casting of Liev Schreiber, and I was like, yeah, I see that. I like that.
Yeah, Liev Schreiber would be nice. What's up, Orange Grove? Thank you for coming. Liev Schreiber would be nice as Baylan. Baylan's really good. Or Liev Schreiber's really good. We just saw him in X-Men Origins. Definitely the best part of X-Men Origins. But I haven't seen Liev in a minute. But he does fit that 55 to 60-year-old actor. Can you get the grays? Can Liev get the grays? I haven't seen him. I haven't seen his beard in a while.
I'm sure they could probably just like.
Let's not do that.
Witness me.
Witness! That'd be great. But yeah, Baylan is definitely the most interesting character post Ahsoka, and I'm curious to see who they get. Big shoes to fill. Rest in peace, Ray Stevenson. He did a phenomenal job all across Ahsoka, especially episode 4 and 5. I mean, 4, yeah. So yeah, let's get into night. From day to night. And again, before we get into night, I liked how a lot of the plot threads from day intercut into night, especially Osha's arc. I talked about last week how Osha was very passive as a character. She was getting ready to leave Seoul without saying goodbye, leaving the Jedi to find her sister for her. May is bad, but I can't confront her. And then when they get to the planet, having been convinced by Soul, she's then pleading for Yord and for Jecki and for not for Soul, but yeah, Yord and Jecki most of all. Can you handle May? And both of them told her, "Hey, we can't help you with May. This is a personal journey for you," for lack of better words. And even Jecki goes far to say, like, it's not what you I forget the exact quote, but it's not death that you survive. Like it's what you survive that makes you stronger, or something like that. And it was a very good quote from Jecki, and I think that's definitely a contributing factor for Osha in Night in terms of confronting what your past, basically. And they do meet. Osha may finally come and meet. Not to my hopes, dang it, Osha, but we'll get to that because I think I was on May's side there in the argument.
there's an impressive shot by the end there where they hug and they do a pan around like from one face to the other, and it's a mandala on both, and I'm like, fuck, that's so clean.
It's really clean. It reminded me of Last Night in Soho, that's a clean pan between Anya Taylor-Joy and Thomasin McKenzie from past to present.
Yeah.
I think the camera work was really good this episode. Again, this was Alex Garcia Lopez, who has a lot of sci-fi, comic book work in his past. And he did a great job here as well for day and for night. Same writers as well. Same writers and directors for 4 and 5. But yeah, Osha's arc was about dealing with your trauma, dealing with the past. And I think that's going to continue. I thought that would get settled a little bit in episode 5. It does from May's perspective, but we'll get to it at the end of this episode. Kyrie is going to come in here, and we're going to get a good, Rey, Kylo, Last Jedi. There's been a lot of Reylo moments, Reylo comparisons, and I think, obviously so, the Osha and Chimera stuff is very delicious. But I think, even as a huge Reylo fan, it's a very different dynamic, Reylo and Oshmir.
I had a lot more to go off of like reasons of sympathy. You could see this was a person that was manipulated.
Exactly. I think,
seeing just granted, we haven't gotten into him yet, but like all we're seeing at the jump is like this is a bad dude who took out a couple of our favorites.
Exactly. But yeah, he definitely has Kylo qualities in terms of that like anarchist mentality, as well as his softness towards the end of the episode was very shocking. But I had the biggest smile on my face when we put that blanket on Osha. I was like, okay, because how long have we been talking about it, Nathan? Switching sides in terms of, I mentioned this last week. I was like, can we see them switch sides? Osha go to the dark, May go to the light. I don't think we're getting full reversal, but because we don't know May's intentions with Soul yet. But she did get what she wanted in terms of surrendering herself to the Jedi. But this one's she takes more agency in this maneuver, while Osha is more so, again, passively getting taken. She was taken in by the Jedi. The Jedi like really forced her to come to the planet. Like she's not making her own assertive decisions. She's getting taken, just like Kylo took Rey on Takodana Forest. But in TOJ, Rey called Kylo a monster. Kylo was hurt by that. Kylo revealed some truths about himself, and that really helped them connect. We'll get to what happens next week, but I'm very, very, very excited to see what Osha and Chimera dialogue. I'm like, my notes next week is going to be every single line that Osha and Chimera say to each other, because I'm super excited. But let's dive into this. They get on the planet. Osha wakes up to find Pip, and she also hears sounds of death, destruction, and lightsaber flashes. Really cool opening to this episode. I really liked it in terms of not getting us exactly where we were. I was kind of nervous. I was like, oh, they better not be like, yes, this show is from Osha's perspective. I don't want it to be fully Osha's perspective. I want to see some lightsaber fights as a fan. Yeah. And they gave it to us. I was kind of nervous at first, but man, because Osha wakes up, she sees a scarred land. I love that. Like the Sith leaving their mark on the planet. It was very dark side. We always talk about how the Lightsiders, Jedi, even characters like Mando, they come in and they heal a planet. And this guy, Chimera, is here to permanently scar this planet with death and destruction. And a lot of it came this episode. I liked it when she looks over to see Yord fighting Yord and 2 other Jedi fighting Chimera or the Stranger at this point in time. This is where we get an awesome fight sequence under the tree here. We see the first instance of the Stranger here blocking with his left arm, with his fully cortosis. We didn't even talk about that. Yeah. He, as confirmed by fans who are a lot smarter than me, the helmet and the gauntlet on his arm is made out of cortosis, which was confirmed in Thrawn's In the second Thrawn book, the one with Anakin Skywalker, they go to a Cortosis factory and shut it down. And then it was also, of course, in Legends as well. It was also in Afra. And as an Afra fan, I'm shocked I forgot about it. But there was a issue in Afra where Cortosis was mentioned. Darth Bane famously worked in a Cortosis mine. Same properties as Legends as to canon. It is a piece of metal that is very brittle, but still able to deactivate or affect the properties of the kyber crystal, thus short-circuiting in it when it comes into like physical contact. And we saw that with the headbutts he does in this short sequence under the tree. He headbutts a Jedi lightsaber and blocks it with his gauntlet, both of which, again, are Cortosis. And it was just incredible. We get the Force Kebab again, where kills one, pushes the other one into his ally, and then cuts their heads off screen. Wild.
Not the Sith Kebab.
It was such a great sequence, dude. I was like, okay, this was a short tease from Leslie saying, this is what we're in for.
Yeah.
And it was great. And just, what do you think about his fighting style? The way he's like left and right. He's fighting like four, because there was a blue saber one, and then he's fighting like four people, including Yord. I'm just like, wow. I mean, he wasn't even phased.
He's holding his own. He's fast. He's very aggressive, like a very unorthodox fighting style. But also with the Cortosis just being so useful. I mean, he's headbutting the sabers to deactivate them,
which is incredible.
You know, the most valuable thing to protect against a saber, and he's just like fucking. It's insane.
It's super insane. I just loved that whole twist there, where it was just something for Jedi, and I think it was mentioned in this episode, and just like, you know, fans as well have noticed, like, they're fighting against a character, a being that they're so not used to fighting. This is the High Republic. This is their first time fighting a Sith in who knows how long, at least 900 years, according to them. I don't want to limit canon to being like, this is the only time a Sith has ever revealed themselves to Jedi, you know, pre-Palpatine / Maul. Maul famously did reveal himself to a Jedi prior to the Phantom Menace, but he killed her before the Phantom Menace starts. So there was no like lingering issues there. It was a Darth Maul miniseries. I would recommend reading it, even though I spoiled the ending. It was really good. And then, because I think just in general, there was a lot of opportunity, even in the novels, to introduce a Sith character before Chimera that introduced themselves to a Jedi. A lot of fans are upset about this whole reveal in the sense of that, like, oh, you know, it's supposed to be Palpatine is the first, whatever, idiots. And I just think, like, I don't want to limit storytelling in the sense that, like, Chimera has to kill everybody now because he can't be here because this has to make sense and all this kind of stuff. It's like you're stretching yourself too thin by limiting what Star Wars can and cannot do. So I'm very excited that Chimera has been revealed here, and I'm excited about the potential of more reveals in the future if the series gets a new season or whatever, or beforehand. And like, again, in the novels, I would be very excited to see another Sith character before Chimera. So just in general, I just like that whole attitude. But yeah, Gord gets slashed on the thigh. In this case, he's on the ground getting ready to nearly die, but Osha tries to stun him with a stun blast. Of course, he just turns around before Yord falls. And I wrote here that Chimera at this point, after a failed stun attempt by Osha, stalks towards her, kind of like a predator. And this is a good point to pause and say that Leslie mentioned how episode 4 was like the aliens kind of episode. And then episode 5 was the predator, alien predator. And you totally get that vibe. Alien is all about, you know, if you want to watch our alien commentary, we did 13 of those motherfuckers, including Predator, of course. And a common trope, going to a planet, being surprised by what lives on said planet, trying to leave said planet before they're inevitably killed off one by one. And I like, very similar to Alien in episode 4, Day, a group of people go into a place they're unfamiliar with. They venture into a forest that's obviously bad, but they keep on going because they have a mission. In that case, to find May. And then, of course, you see the bugs on the trees. It's very alien-like, how it awakens and then attacks them and they kill it off. Yeah. So it's very much an alien vibe. And this one's full predator. They're unprepared for a force of nature that's stronger than anything they've ever come across. That's basically the tagline for the 1980s first Predator, among the other ones, of course, where it's just like you're unprepared for this force of nature that you've never had to train before or train against before, that you've ever seen before. It was so riveting seeing just like their faces, like, what are you? What is it? Like they didn't even know what they were fighting here before the reveal. So it's just incredible. And OSHA, so we get a quick cut to May in Konaka's hut. She finds his saber. And she was going to use it obviously for self-defense. I just made a note for this because I really kind of want to see May use a lightsaber in the future. That's very exciting for me. Who knows what happens to May? And I'll get my theories out at the end of this, but who knows what happens to May after her run-in with Soul? Like, we know there's a reckoning coming in for Soul. Mm-hmm. Is May going to help lead to that? She's going to say, like, I'm May, and this is what you did. I have no idea what's going to happen.
Gotcha, bitch.
Is there potential for her to see what OSHA sees in the Jedi? Because, and again, we'll get to that in my theory section here, but like, May is a very loving character. She loves OSHA, partially to her detriment. But like, she's also very aggressive and very assertive in her demands and her wants and her needs, opposite of OSHA. And I think it'd be very interesting to see her take a passive approach in the next few episodes and learn and understand the Jedi in a way before, just trying to dismantle Soul. I don't know. It's just a theory. I mean, I'm very curious. Like, OSHA's going to a bad place, or May's going to a quote unquote good place, but we'll see what happens there. But her picking up the lightsaber kind of just reminded me, like, oh, I would love to see her use it in one of these episodes. But anyways, OSHA runs off, and Chimere flings the lightsaber before Soul deflects it and orders her and Chimere to run. Great sequence here. OSHA's running, and then just flings it. There was a part of me, having watched the episode, when I was watching it again, I was like, can I track if Chimere wants OSHA from the beginning? Like, this mission, Chimere's mission, episode 5, kill the Jedi, of course, and kill May. He's on a mission to kill May, which was a big twist for me my first time watching. I'm like, okay, he wants May, obviously. He stops a lot of fights. We'll talk about it. He stops a lot of fights mid-fight to go find May. And I'm like, okay, he's going to grab May and be like, don't do that again and come here. I think we talked about it last week. We're like, what is his deal with May? He obviously killed Konaka, which was part of May's trial. Mm-hmm. Is he doing that? And I kind of questioned that. I was like, is Chimere / the Stranger, is he doing that to put May into a corner? And it kind of worked in that sense. But also, like, it seems like, having watched it twice now, he just straight up wants to kill her. Now, if that's the case, if he wants to kill May, does he also want to kill OSHA, or does he want to leave his options open? But I don't know. In this sequence here, when he throws them, like, that's definitely a kill shot if OSHA just stands there. She's getting beheaded. But it's thanks to Soul to deflect that OSHA survives there. But besides that sequence, he does a lot to, like, not kill OSHA. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think he was planning on saving OSHA, or she literally just fell into his lap by the end of the episode?
It may have been just fun. It could have been a circumstance of just in the element at the beginning. It's just like, I gotta take as many threats off the board as I can, for starters. Because as it stands, we really don't know, like, what's up. And maybe it could have been spite against May to take out OSHA. I don't know, because that was her whole reason for flipping to begin with.
That's a great point. That's a good point. It's like, you tried to betray me for OSHA. Like, I'm gonna kill you and I'm gonna kill OSHA now. but this guy, Nathan, he really wants a pupil. And if you can't have May or Osha, who else are you going to have?
But I think it's also possible that by the end, when he instills that doubt of Soul in Osha, that maybe he sees like a seed's been planted that I can maybe explore there.
Wait, when you see what? A doubt in Osha?
Yeah, when he's like basically telling Osha
Soul?
not to trust Soul.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I agree. I agree. I think when he's getting choked out, it reminded me very much of like Palpatine and Anakin and Mace. He's like, the Jedi have taken over. It's like, you must choose. Like, help me, please. Look at Mace. Look what he's doing. And it, like I'm doing. The voice, the octaves, it's peak. Thank you, Ian.
It is.
Yeah, we'll get to it. But with the Soul moment, he literally looks at Osha and he's kind of like not checking her out, but just checking like, hey, where's your darkness, Soul? Where are you hiding your darkness? Like very much egging Soul on. So wants to be like,
he's been doing that the whole time. It felt very like last night when we were watching every bar between Xavier and Magneto. Where is every point's hitting the like compassion versus like logic of the situation.
Yeah, it's very fascinating. But yeah, he says back to when Soul deflects the boomerang lightsaber. Basically, he says civilian to the ship, and basically Yord and Osha scatter off to go towards the ship. And I love the voice modulator. I couldn't find it in the EW article, but I want them to talk about it. Leslie and them, like, where'd you find that voice modulator? It's such a very interesting octave to get, and I bet it took a lot of like head scratches and like you can create a character like Chimera. You can say Chimera becomes the Stranger, and the Stranger has a deep voice. But like the modulation is just really perfect. I loved it since I first heard it in the teaser trailer in episode 1.
You can also tell there's a different cadence with how he speaks when he's like putting on the goofy like hello act versus when he's like you didn't know it was me. Like,
it's so interesting because there's 3 different things here. Like we see him under the mask, without the mask but still Stranger tone, and without the mask but Chimera tone, and we see all 3 of those instances in this episode. And it's very fascinating here. But yeah, he says like, you don't remember me? The calm head tilt that he does. Chimera is very much of a head tilter. I mentioned here like the calm inquisitive nature of like, you don't remember me? And this got people thinking instantly. Like when I heard you don't remember me, I was like, Soul knows him? I was like, the witches. It has to be the witches. Or one of the witches. I'm an idiot. But then I paused.
Well, even later, Osha brings up like what Chimera was doing is like my mothers could do that, and I was like, it's the mom,
right? Yeah, right. That's I'm like, oh, like they're really doubling down on it being Mother Coral or Anisea.
Black hands. That was in my brain. You saying that was in my brain when Osha said it. I was like, I think it might be.
I'm a great influence on Nathan. So yeah, that was fascinating. So Soul says you carry a Jedi weapon, but you are no Jedi. And this again references that Jedi are not used to fighting a character like this. Not used to fighting a character who can really keep them on their toes. So Soul is just so mystified by this. We cut to May and Jackie fight, which is too much fun. So last time we saw May, she got Konaka Saber. She walked outside, instantly gets jumped by Jackie, who's kind of gets on top of her, puts one cuff on her, and says, "This is for the death of Master Andara. This is for the death of Torben." And then they fight some more, and then she says, "And this is for you starting the fire." And that really enrages May. Like you see her like, ah! And kind of headbutts Jackie, pushes her aside, throws a dagger at her. It was very interesting. Yeah. I really loved that whole May Jackie scuffle. And we talked about this, where May is put into a corner where she wanted to surrender herself to the Jedi. Like episode 4, May would have been like, "Hey, here, Jackie, I'm here, but because the stranger's here, everything's out the window, and she's like, it's pure survival mode for May.
Yeah.
I find that super fascinating.
Absolutely.
So yeah, May is in pure survival mode, and she has to fight through Jackie to get past it. But that fire mention really rattles May, and it's going to rattle her again when we get to the OSHA conversation.
Yeah. That's another bit like I've been seeing annoying people be like, "Oh, I thought you were going to turn over last episode. What now, motherfucker? You think the Jedi are going to trust her right now? She's going to be bound and stuck there."
Exactly. Jackie was very much like aggressive and being like, "You are arrested for the death of Konaka." And she's like, "I am Konaka's savior, but it's not what it looks like." Like, it's very.
Like, it's very messy. Like, you can't explain your way right now out of that. It doesn't look good.
It's very messy. Again, if Konaka was alive and she talked to Konaka, Konaka would understand. He would tell the Jedi, like, she came to me, and then surrender there. But the stranger, again, puts a wrinkle in everything. If she gets arrested by the Jedi, that doesn't mean anything. The Jedi are dying one by one by the second. May's instance is to leave because the Jedi are just as able to die as she is. Like, surrendering herself to the Jedi means nothing because the Jedi are too busy to attack or to defend themselves against the stranger here. So it's just, it's a very fun fight. I also liked it because OSHA and Jackie have gotten so close to this point.
Mm-hmm.
The potential, Nathan, ripped from us. Remember I said, the season's going to end, jokingly, but the season's going to end with Jackie and OSHA at the cantina. Now it's just going to be OSHA at the cantina by herself.
Every motherfucker was like, Soul's going to talk to OSHA later. It's death sentence. But then Jackie's like, we'll get that drink. And even in the last episode with Yor, like, we got to catch up.
In craziness. And then Jackie last week saying, I've never experienced death. It's a very important thing to experience death before. Sorry, unlike you, OSHA. And OSHA's like, it's not great. Jackie unfortunately falls victim to that. So let me see here. May Jackie fight. Torben arranges May. Soul fight continues, and he says, "Why do you continue to wear that mask?" And the stranger at this point says, "And let you read my thoughts." No. I love that so much. Like, no, I'm not an idiot.
I didn't catch the nose until the rewatch I did today. I was like, oh my god, he's toying with us.
No. So good.
I love modulators. I need one.
Me too. Yeah. Again, we need a soundboard for this podcast.
I have Time Blazer's main character has a modulator. I need to pick this.
It's so interesting here. But then he says, "What kind of master hides his face from his own pupil?" asked by Soul. And Chimera says, "You tell me." I'm like, "Hey, yo!" It's so interesting. I'm like, this is so, it's a layered dialogue here where he says, like, what kind of master hides his face? What he's basically telling Soul is,
where
your master,
Charles?
Where were you, Charles?
Hiding, pretending to be something you're not.
Basically, and so he's telling Soul, even though you're maskless, you're hiding something about yourself, just like Stranger is hiding something about himself. It's just like, why are you faking it? Why haven't you shown your true self to OSHA? Basically, that's kind of like the intention there. Of course, OSHA isn't here to witness that line, but it's still, as an audience member, really baked in there. So it's very good. But then the fighting, Chimera hears May scream, and again, that scream is referenced by Jackie angering May. And when the stranger hears that, he quickly disarms Soul and pushes him. That's when you get that awesome Soul shot where he's like sliding. And when Soul recovers, he looks up and Chimera's gone. And I was like, oh wow, like he's really into like fuck Soul so much though, like he has to go track down May. I found that aspect of his character so fascinating.
Yeah.
And we cut to OSHA and Yord now. By the way, I love this episode, but the cuts, the little the fade in, fade out, fade in, fades out. I didn't love the consistency. Thank you, the wipes. I didn't love the consistency with how they use the wipes. I feel like it was too much, especially within a short period of time. Again, I talked about it last week, but like I love this show, but you're not getting the full scene. We're not able to breathe in a full scene at times, which is why like the Osha and May scene is so special in this episode, because you get to really breathe and explain their differences. But Osha recalls to Yord as they're running away, and she's like, "So who was that, Yord?" And Yord's like, "I don't know. He just gets in our head, gets in the Jedi's head, and he stays there." Which might be another factor that we're not seeing visually with the fights. Yeah. And I think this was mentioned in the Matthew Stover Revenge of the Sith novelization. When Palpatine's fighting the Jedi in his Senate chamber, they're all falling one by one, but it's a lot easier when he's getting in their head, force-wise. Like, they're fighting while the force is kind of like unbalanced, and it really unbalances their combat as a sense. And so much like, it's a lot different when you're fighting like Anakin and Obi-Wan, they're just fighting each other. But the Sith's able to get into your head, ruin the balance and the force there, and really happen to like ruin your combat, your stance, everything. And that's why it makes it so easy, I think, for the Chimera to make a force kebab. Because he's breaking through their force defenses, their force walls, as we saw with Torben. And like, because he's able to get in their head. And when he says that, Osha's like, "Oh, my mother can get inside people's heads. I saw it once," just like Nathan referenced. And this is interesting. It's like what's the comparison here? Was he? I used to think like maybe Anastasia or Coral are still alive and working alongside Chimera. But maybe not. But either way, Chimera's able to get into their head just like her mother used to. Is that instead of just saying a reference to the witches themselves, maybe it's a reference to the dark side? The Coven Coven was persecuted because they did like quote unquote bad things. Dark side stuff would get you persecuted. Thus, Chimera doing a similar thing is very dark side-ish. So it's very interesting there. I can't wait to see what comes of that comparison. But May has a dagger to Jackie's heart. Jackie gets the upper hand on May in turn, but then when Jackie's putting the cuffs on May in the corner of the screen, you see him running, and it's gnarly, like it's crazy, like
scary.
Jalen missed it the first time because he was eating. He looked down for a second. I'm like, oh my god! Like it's a split second where he's just like running off screen and instantly nearly kills Jackie here. Like she has to get up, deflect with Kel Naka's or her own saber. And it was great. It was so haunting. It was like kind of like a ghost. And then when they're fighting, he pushes down Jackie and he tells to May, "You can learn a lot from this Padawan. She's a loyal pupil." And I guess this is a big dig at May, who is unfortunately, she ain't loyal. And it's very interesting. You see May apologizing, saying like, I'm sorry. Like, it'll never happen again, basically. And this is when, again, I referenced like in my notes here, like at this point, is he thinking now about Osha? Because Osha's about to arrive at the scene, but like he's really ready to kill May here. But before he's able to kill May, Jackie defends it and starts dual wielding in one of the best sequences in Star Wars history. Dual wielding Jackie, she gets cortosis. Part of her lightsaber gets short circuited, but then it bursts back to life, and then she uses Konaka's saber and starts going after the stranger / Chimera. It is an incredible sequence. What do you think about her first using that dual wielding stance?
Oh, it was wonderful. It was perfect. I wish I didn't know it was coming because, chat be talking about TV spots that I haven't seen. I'm like, all right.
And people already theorized that it was like Kilonaka's saber because it was also green.
Which even to that point, I was like, yeah, probably. It was cool. I really love it a lot. I love the style. I like the smirk on her face when the other saber reactivates and she's got both.
Yeah, it's great. It's that quick smirk. It's like, I got the upper hand now. Even Chimera's like, he stumbles a little bit because it's just, it's a different stance.
Yeah.
But it was so cool. Look, again, Daphne Keane, incredible. Really? Catch her in everything, guys. That's including you, Kevin Feige. We don't need another Logan. The first effing movie, I better see Scott, Jean, Storm, and Laura Kinney walking through the halls as Wolverine. No questions asked. Nobody would give a fuck. She's just a part of the core team. The end.
The one positive I could take away from losing Jackie is that now she's free to do.
And I think Daphne is like, what, 23 right now? I don't know how young they're casting for X-Men. If they're going a bit younger.
I think she's 19.
She's 19? Oh, even better. So, yeah, she's getting around that super young age. I still don't know how young they're going to cast for the X-Men. I figure, like, do you want to go the Tom Holland route and have the X-Men grow with the franchise?
Yeah, I could still see them being, like, early 20s.
Yeah. I'm very curious. I would cast them young. I would go young. Because personally, I want the Harry Potter dynamic with these X-Men cast. But this isn't my cup of tea. But Jackie's just so cool. Daphne Keane is amazing. We cut to OSHA, and they enter the bug forest now. And she quickly realizes, like, hey, stop. We can't continue. She looks at the bug. She says, turn off your lightsaber. They're going to devise a plan, but that's at a later scene. But in this scene, she really tells Jordan, like, we have to go back. They are all going to die. Again, I think it's very similar to episode 4. We saw her learning to use the Force. She's becoming more sensitive to people and people's deaths. We'll get to that in a second. So she's becoming more sensitive to the life force around her. And she can sense, as other Jedi can, impending danger. She wants them to turn around. But she has a plan. She has a thought, at least, at this scene. And we'll cut to that in a second. But we cut back to Chimera and Jackie. Chimera gets the upper hand against dual-wielded Jackie. And he nearly cuts off May's head. And he says, you were going to betray me. You've always been weak. Or May says, I'm sorry, I was weak. He says, you've always been weak. This is when he's about to stab her. Like literally she's pinned against a rock. And then there's a great scene where she's like this and he slams his lightsaber down and cuts it. I'm like, oh my gosh. It was so scary. But then he pushes her against a rock, about to stab her. Jackie comes, deflects. It was so cool. She really comes in like dink. Like, nope. And this is the person that she was nearly about to arrest, but she can't have May die.
She's a Jedi.
She's a Jedi, exactly. The fight ensues and May runs. While Jackie and Soul 2v1 the stranger. Just again, great choreography, great because it's very hard to do like 2v1 good. And it's well done in the Phantom Menace, but Jackie and Civil War, you can't fight them hand to hand. Jackie and Soul, master and Padawan, master and student here, and they know each other's moves so well. And just it's a very short burst, but we get a great scene between Lee Jung Jae, Daphne, and Manny. It's so cool.
God damn, dude, the relationships here were so rich
and so filled with potential. God.
Even like this is like a different level, but it's like we just lost Kaunaka as well off screen, but it's like, but there's a comic coming. I'm like, I don't care,
right? Yeah,
I care about the artistry, but I'm just like, God damn it, keep them.
Yeah, I want more. Jonas. Jonas, by the way, said it was very hard to sit like that because he was in the costume when he was doing that. He said he could only do that like 5 minutes at a time. Playing dead on the seat.
They couldn't leave the costume empty. Just pillows in there.
Put some feathers in there. But Nathan, I haven't seen anybody talk about this. At least from what I listened to. I've only listened to 2 podcasts. But we cut again. Listen to our podcast.
I listen live.
Osha, we cut back to Osha and Yor. They're still in the forest.
Mm-hmm.
This is when Osha is about to come up with the light plan. But she literally in Osha's head, little May calls for, and if you use subtitles, it says like May screams Osha. And here little May calls for Osha. I say little May in the sense that it's the same little May that was called to her when she awoken on the ice planet, that showed her the vision, that again said, I killed Indara and I'm going to kill them all, and her eyes turned black. Yeah. It's the same May that led her to Torben in episode 2. And now episode 5, we see her again where she hears May. And we know it's not grown-up May because she's currently running for her life.
It's funny. I thought that was May. I have no reason to think not. But then, like later today on Twitter, someone thought it was Jackie calling out to Osha because we were moments from her fate. So I was like, oh shit! If it's that, I'm sadder.
Yeah, maybe. But like, and if it's Jackie, like, is it little May being a projection of her worry for Jackie?
I don't know. If it is like the subtitles say it's May, then it is May. I know
it's literally little. Whisper. Sorry, yeah. What are you saying?
I did initially just hear like a soft whisper calling out to Osha, so I thought maybe it could be Jackie. But my first initial viewing, I did think it was May. Anyhow.
Yeah, it's definitely May. It's little May once again, not visually. We didn't see it visually like episode 1 and 2, but we hear it, and it calls for Jackie to re-enter the dark forest. This means a lot metaphorically, thematically as well. To enter her, classic Snow White, enter the dark forest, is changed forever. She encounters the witch. And this time, in this case, Osha, as a passive character, was ready to leave the dark forest before encountering her darkness, before encountering May, before encountering Chimera. As a character, as a heroine, Jackie's not a heroine yet. I mean, Osha's not a heroine yet.
Yeah. What heroine in this stream?
I know. Because she hasn't fulfilled the journey yet. Again, she's like allowing the Jedi to really propel her from point A to point B. She's going to leave the dark forest, but little May compels her, due to the fear that she has of people are dying, to go back into the forest to help out Jackie and the rest. I wonder what that means, because it does, at the end of it all, and justify the means. It forces her to confront May, and it forces her to confront Chimera in the future, which is a good thing, in my opinion. Of course, she convinces Yord by telling him, follow the light. The bugs will follow the light. Sorry, Pip. We'll get to that in a second, where Pip sacrifices himself. So Osha devised that plan. We get back to Jackie, who breaks Chimera's helmet. 2 quick bursts with the elbow there. It was really cool because Soul and Jackie are again fighting. Soul solos Chimera, pushes him down. Jackie follows it up with those quick 2 elbows, and then goes for the killing blow. But Chimera got some space, enough so to dismantle his lightsaber in cool, quick fashion. Literally less than a second. It's really quick.
Now you saw my reaction.
Nathan's a great reaction on YouTube. I saw it as soon as it dropped.
Yeah.
I was like, I gotta watch this.
Well, YouTube should start making YouTube shorts, so that's up there. Unfortunately, you can only do a minute long for YouTube shorts, I guess. So I was like, how do I condense all this fucking shit?
edit.
Right, I really was. I was like, shave. But you saw. I was so like enthralled in the moment, like that Jackie was like going all fucking in, knocked the mask off. So it was like, okay, cool. The reveal's about to come. Jackie's the one to do it. She's taking him down. Fuck yeah, go girl. Oh no, everything was lost.
It was so. And when she got stabbed, I was eating dinner, guys. I was like, no, and then Twice. I'm like,
flying.
When I know, I had a hamburger and fries on Tuesday. I didn't eat. James like, you didn't eat your food. I was like, no, I didn't want to blink. I didn't want to look away from the screen. I didn't want to look down and miss an editing.
You were activated.
I activated. Thank you. Fine. Anyways, I stood up and I was like, okay. In that split second, guys, I'm like, okay. Sabine survived a Jedi stab. It's fine. In a split second, I was like, okay, maybe you can survive this. Take it away. Boop, boop. Oh. Not the triple.
Double I've seen.
Yeah.
Plenty. Triple,
boom, boom.
That's just disrespectful.
That's disrespectful. Man, heartbreaking. And Osha on her way to Chimere feels it. Again, this is Osha connecting with the Force. She pauses and she's like, I was like, oh man, I didn't realize it my first time, but the second time watch, like she feels Jackie fall and Souls like screams in agony. I'm like, oh, this is. We don't give enough praise for Lee. Everybody's praising Manny Jacinto, who is phenomenal, but Daphne, great. Charlie Bennett as Yord, great. Lee Jung Jae, the emotions he goes through in this episode, fucking fantastic.
Which just gets like even more impressed because I'm currently trying to learn a different language. He learned English. What was it in 6-month time frame? Learned English not only to like learn. The lines he's saying, but also like to deliver the cadence at like the right moment in the sentence structure. Like he's just putting the right emphasis on the right emotion on the right words, and he's just locked in on this performance. Like he's so committed, and he's doing phenomenal.
He's doing so good. He can see like so much. Even outside of the combat, which he did really good in the combat, by the way. Even outside of that, like you can feel the emotions, the emotional roller coaster that he's going on, the despair that he's feeling in every scene. So good. And he says, she was a child. And you get the iconic line. Was that its name? Oh my God. Was that its name?
That was before it. That was.
Oh yeah.
He calls out for Jackie. Was that
its name? She was a child.
Yeah.
He said, you brought her here. With the shrug. With the shrug. And I'm just like, fuck, you brought her here. Which is such a layered quote, because we know this. We've, fans have been commentating about the Jedi for years now, especially Clone Wars making it more prominent than ever, where hundreds of Jedi died during the Clone Wars. But kids died too. Kids became generals. General Ahsoka, when Ahsoka's like 12 years old. And this was referenced even more so in the Ahsoka series in episode 5, when we get that flashback where she's reliving the combat, the war and destruction of the Clone Wars, and she's just a child following and seeing her friends, Commander Rex and them alongside her. Friends she knows just died in front of her, and I think she was burdened. We talked about that in the episode, Ahsoka episode 5, where she's burdened by the deaths of those around her at such a young age, and how that impacted her and her thoughts on death in general. But yeah, these Jedi are an institution that is flawed. And this is just one of many flaws. And yeah, it's been going on. It's been going on more even before that, like in the High Republic. Jedi are still Padawans. There's still Padawans that still go to battle. And there's still some Padawans that do die in the High Republic book, some that I'm still not recovering from.
What the fuck are you trying to get me into, the High Republic? I'm not finding out that it's ruthless. Why?
It's a ruthless era.
I thought we were having fun.
I thought so too. Kevin Scott, Charles Soule, but no. Other High Republic authors, you know
the rest of you?
Yeah, you know who you are. But Kevin most notably did something bad in the second adult book. And then in the first YA book for Phase 2, one of my favorite characters, something happened. But
I'm sitting here thinking like, oh, it's a fun time in the High Republic, but we lost the space station and cry.
No. Yeah, Starlight Beacon was
was on there?
Starlight Beacon was like 1,000.
What did you take from me?
A lot. There was like literal tears on my book page when I was reading that section of the book. I wiped off my book.
Someone walks over. I can fix that.
I can get some. I can get some paper towels, some napkins. But yeah, it's a lot to discuss on one podcast. Maybe we should do a whole discussion on this. But
on holes.
Yeah, on holes. Bring in the guy from Gen V. But anyways, different whole guy.
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just the Jedi using children, using Padawans in war, which was referenced in the Clone Wars, but just in general, they did, this was a mission to track down May. So you can kind of give Soul the benefit of the doubt, but he's still going into an unknown situation with the Padawan. And it's his responsibility at the end of the day. And that's what makes it all the more tragic when a master loses a Padawan. It's just extremely tragic. And the unfortunate reality is that Chimera isn't exactly wrong. But again, speaking of Jeki's death and the shrug, we do realize Chimera is indeed the masked man. And when he sees May, he switches over. He's like, hello. I'm like, oh, hello. Hey, May. He's like, how's it going? Like,
as a quick distraction, like fucking throw his robe at Soul and then fucking bring her right in.
Oh my gosh. The amount of fan cams I've seen of that. Man, I didn't know May was that built. I'm like, oh, you must have been hiding all that under those robes. Like, shit. Okay, wow.
Really though, like, dude is swole. He's
jacked. That's a lot of lasagna.
No, he's hot.
Oh no, he's hot. But yeah, it's a lot of stuff there. I'm sorry, track and field's on right now. I'm just like side eyeing it.
I keep thinking like Jalen, like side, like
no. But yeah, and yeah, I love the hello switch, and he grabs May, and when he grabs May, Soul tries to quickly attack him, and Chimera says, "You attack me while my back is turned? Not very Jedi of you." Which is so good.
It's son of a bitch with every turn.
Every time. Every single time.
What plays it
what?
But he just plays it so well.
He plays it so well. It's so nonchalant but powerful. He exudes confidence, but in such a chaotic way. It's so interesting. But this is the first of 2 times that that Soul kind of unleashes or does something un-Jedi-like. Against Chimera. Like, this one was like tapped him out. Obviously, he was in the middle of talking with May, Chimera was, and Chimera has to deflect with one hand. The Soul understands that he drops his saber down to try and help a strangled May. This is when he breaks. I thought he broke May's leg, but May kind of walks it off. But
I think he just like May was trying to run away and he like re-caught her.
The first time I thought he just like broke her ankle. I'm like, oh damn! But no, he didn't, because
wouldn't past him.
I thought he wouldn't. They may just be walking like this the rest of the season. But
there was a Quicksilver on her, as we saw last night.
Oh gosh!
I nickel for every time they incapacitate Quicksilver.
But then he says, once May is thrown aside, he's like, "Who are you? Or what are you?" Some, like the Jedi, might call me a Sith.
I'm kind of bummed the subtitles gave away that ...
Oh, you wanted to build up.
I read ahead and I was like, oh.
Yeah. But this is big, Nathan. I have to ask, do you believe Chimera is a Sith?
Well, I don't know at this point. I mean, could he be? Sure. Could it be just him using the Jedi's labels to make the explanation easier in the moment? Maybe. Is he more aligned to the Kylo dark side usage? Maybe. I'm not entirely sure. I would need to see I need to get more info on where he comes from, who trained him, if that person who trained him is maybe still in the picture and he's trying to get somebody to overthrow. I don't know.
That's still my leading theory. I take him at his word, similar to Kylo Ren, another person who people disbelieved. And while in TLJ, Kylo's version of events with Luke was his version of events, Kylo never lies to Rey, ever, in the sequel trilogy. He never lies to Rey. And Vader to Luke never really lies to Luke. I am your father. Like, these Darksiders aren't ones to really lie unless like actively manipulating, in Palpatine's case, the biggest liar of all time. Like Ezra, your parents are alive. But
which that's so fucked. I mean, yeah, it's funny when you even like you do think back to like Ben's situation is like even on Luke's like honest retelling is like he saw the eyes of a frightened boy. Those frightened eyes saw what Ben described.
Exactly. Ben never lied. Vader never lied. I don't think Chimera is lying in this case. I do think. Oh, the way he phrases it makes it like you guys call me a Sith. I'm not saying I'm a Sith. That's fair enough. But I do think this show. Before I get into the metatextual of it all, but like I think in the show itself, Chimera I think is saying you guys call me a Sith, and that's what he is. I think he's 100% a Sith. We'll get to the Knights of Ren thing, the score, the soundtrack, the color theme. It's a cool theme. I loved it. I was like, oh, instantly. I was like, oh. But I didn't jump to Knights of Ren. I don't think Knights of Ren is happening in this story. I think Leslie, when pitching to Kathleen Kennedy, said, I wonder what the heck the Sith are up to during this time, A, and then B, how can the Jedi fall victim to being so weak that Palpatine is willing enough Palpatine is able to sneak in and do his thing. And this show is all about highlighting the flaws of the Jedi, and the Sith are right along there connected with it. So I really think he is a Sith in this case. The question for me, though, is he the Sith Master or the Sith Apprentice? And my leading theory right now is still from the very beginning of the series, he's a Sith Apprentice. He is desperate to find a pupil so he can overthrow his master or just go away from his master. Sorry, master, I'm gone. This guy is very much, we'll get to it, where it's like he doesn't like rules. And he doesn't like rules, and maybe one of the rules being the rule of two, because he kind of just revealed himself. One of the biggest rule of two reveals like don't reveal yourself. Granted, as people know in Legends, Bane revealed himself right after creating the rule of two. Zana, who I love you, Zana, but she revealed herself to some Jedi as well, even though she also managed to sneak into the Jedi Temple for a week unnoticed. Read the Darth Bane trilogy, guys. It's really good. It's one of my favorite Legends. I might like the Darth Bane trilogy more than the Darth Plagueis novel. It's hard. But the Darth Bane trilogy, when Darth Bane creates the Rule of Two in the second book, or at the end of the first book, there's two more books, guys. And what do? Reveal themselves as more Jedi. Do those Jedi end up dead? Spoiler alert, yes. But I think it was very much of even though the Rule of Two is still happening, some of the Sith are still able to reveal themselves to the Jedi. And even more so, Zana had a difficult time trying to overtake her master, Darth Bane. Darth Bane created the Rule of Two so that apprentices overtake the master. If Zana's not able to do that, Darth Bane's like, well, I'll find another people, or I'll try and live forever. Like he was already trying to break his own rule too, because Zana was too weak.
Why even implement such a rule? It's like, yeah, I'm gonna make someone that will kill me.
Yeah, and a lot of Sith is very hard to follow. You know, Palpatine's the biggest example of all, where he's just like he's like all about the Rule of Two, but then as soon as he gets into power, he wants to live forever. Palpatine's like the biggest anti-Sith ever. He does not want to die. Yeah,
even to like the point of like upbringing like an apprentice, like he has Vader like locked in a suit that can be manipulated on a dime.
Exactly. He never wants, as much as he punishes Vader for going against him or for doing something bad, or hey, you went to Naboo, Vader. Why'd you go to Naboo, Vader? You know what happened to Padme, Vader. It's like this is in the Darth Vader comic. Yeah, he electrocutes Vader once there's like a hint of him being like recollecting what happened to Padme post in the months that followed Revenge of the Sith. and he gets punished. And it's like either whatever path Vader went down, he's getting punished. That's why Vader is constantly trying to usurp Palpatine. But it just, it's very interesting here. I think, in my opinion, right now, I think the Sith guy is the apprentice who left his own master because he wants freedom. And then he wants May, or in this case now Osha, to be his pupil, to create something else. He is still a Sith, though. I think his master is still in the picture. There's still another one out there. And hopefully we see them in the finale.
He wants the ability to wield his power how he likes.
Exactly. So yes, we get to motivations. Soul continues on saying, like, why reveal yourself? He's like, well, I did wear a mask, which is peak comedy.
Motherfucker.
And then he says, freedom to wield my power in any way that I like, without having to answer to Jedi like you. And Soul's kind of taken aback by this. And he says, I want a pupil, an acolyte. She exposed me, May. So now I have to kill every last one of you. I don't make the rules. The Jedi do. It's just such a fantastic monologue there, where it's like, again, he wants this freedom. He craves this freedom. It's chaotic freedom. And the rules are in place so you don't get people like Chimere, who is bursting at the seams to be so chaotic and, harm other people, obviously. But this guy wants freedom, or wants freedom. And it's very, I immediately think of the parallel with the witches. They wanted freedom. They were persecuted. They left a certain segment of the galaxy. But what happened? As Chimere said, the Jedi make the rules. Jedi come into Brendok, and what do they say? Under Republic law, you have to know the Jedi are allowed to train any potential Padawans. Rules. And these are things that Chimere is trying to break. These are things that Coral and Anastasia were trying to get away from. These Jedi are imposing these rules, and they are bearing the consequences of said rules throughout the galaxy in different ways, of course. Chimere is definitely bad. Coven, though, at least in this case, not so bad, or at least not bad when left to their own devices. So, of course, we have to see more before I come up with a conclusion on the Coven. But either way, the Jedi are creating these rules, and they are reaping the consequences of that. So then we can move on. Let's see here. The Jedi say I can't exist. They see my face, they all die. Which is, again, so good. The Jedi say I can't exist. And I think that fuels Chimere's mindset. You said I can't exist. He wants freedom. He says he wants to exist. He wants to be free. It's very Attack on Titan in a way. Where I don't want to spoil, but like the people within the walls, they can't exist. They must be destroyed at all costs. And Aaron's like, because I was born, I exist. Because I was born, I am Aaron Yeager. I am here because I was born into this world. It's an iconic Attack on Titan quote. And it's very much Chimere. I got Attack on Titan parallels in my rewatch here, where I'm like, he's very much Aaron, where he's lashing out against the world who is refusing his existence, and he's lashing out in any way possible. In Aaron's case, he was lashing out to defend something he loves. In this case, Chimere's not really defending anything, but there is a truth. There is a usefulness to his existence in the case of Osha and May. And I'll get to that at the very end of this. But Yord comes to the rescue with Chimere's mask and boxes him for a second.
Listen, man, he had the spirit.
It sucks, Nathan. And then we see, Yord's arm get broken, neck gets snapped right in front of our eyes. We already talked about it, but man, the quickness to it, the fluidity of the sequence.
These motherfuckers at Lucasfilm fueled the Yord Horde movement.
Yeah.
On the jump. And he knew. The actor knew.
It was funny because he's wearing the same shirt and pants. They filmed all this Yord Horde stuff. Thank you so much, Yord Horde. I'm so glad you guys.
There's totally outtakes where he's like, "This is so fucked."
Yeah, this is, and then in the same day, he's like, knowing Yord's death at the very beginning, I thank Leslie Headland so much with like confronting that. Leslie told him up front that he was going to die. I love that. Him and Daphne were told up front that they were going to die, and it led them to have even more layered performances.
I've seen a lot of clips of Manny doing back when he was doing press, how he's like, everyone's talking about, the lightsaber stuff, and like, do you feel bad that you had to sit on that? He's like, yeah, but I took some fun selfies, and it was still like nice.
It's still nice. I didn't get to participate in the Jedi Kung Fu, we call it the Force Fu, we call it, but it was fun just playing a kind of mysterious character. You're the Sith, motherfucker. Even the Hayden one, like, what are your thoughts on Hayden Christensen? It was like, it was very good being able to continue the mantle of being in the Star Wars franchise. I'm like, you son of a bitch! It was so good. And then of course there's the Osha and Chimera one where he's like, what can you elaborate on your dynamic with Osha or your relationship with Osha? He's like, you have a very physical and emotional dynamic. And Mando's like, why are you saying all that?
It's so fun.
He's like, you're muted.
Am I? No, I'm not. Am I back?
Oh. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh. Looks like I was muted. I don't know how that happened.
Oh, sure.
Sorry, say it again.
It is just funny. It's just like it's like if Andrew Garfield like was trying to like fuck with people instead of going hardcore. Like, no, I'm not it.
Exactly. Remember his classic Jimmy Fallon one where he's just like,
it's a Photoshop.
It's Photoshop. I'm not in the
how that works, Andrew.
Poor Andrew had to cover for that BS Photoshop.
Poor Andrew had to cover for a 8K IMAX camera leak.
Yeah, he was like, I really wish you bet like Andrew's like, I really wish I wasn't doing press for Tick Tick Boom same year as No Way Home. But yeah, that was or a year before No Way Home. That was very unfortunate. So we'll see what happens here. But yeah, Soul just boxes Chimera after the Yord death.
Man.
Osha stuns May. Soul goes on a box Chimera. He's filled with rage, kicks him, and nearly cuts off his head before Osha stops him. And this is where we get some delicious lines here, where Osha's like, or Chimera's like, Osha. I'm just like, what's happening here? No, but
I've seen some people would be like, just do it, and I'm like, you guys don't know Jedi, do you?
The only person who would have done that is Anakin. Without hesitation, Anakin would have done that. In Ahsoka's
many
face,
time he's done that. He does in the Clone Wars.
He's like, hey, Ahsoka, snip. Like, yeah, like he would have done that. But any other Jedi, Obi-Wan, any other Jedi wouldn't have done it. So knows.
Obi-Wan was in a situation with like, was the dude who was going to blow up the ship? Like it was him and Satine.
Yep.
And Anakin just impaled him.
Yeah.
Everyone's like disappointed. He's like, he was going to blow up the ship.
You can't kill me. I have the detonator. And Obi-Wan's like, huh. He's like, oh, and then it drops and Anakin catches it with one hand. He's like, what? What I say? I love that scene. I'm like, Anakin gave no fucks. I'm like, Anakin, if that grenade trigger dropped, but it didn't. I love Anakin's always like, I'll just apologize after the fact.
Anakin gets quite unhinged in Clone Wars. He's like, he gets jealous of this dude Padme's getting hit on by, and he fucking boxes him.
Oh yeah, Santori, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, you trust him even after everything he did to you, Chimera said to Soul, or Chimera said to Osha. And then Soul immediately responds with, his mind is twisted by darkness. Then he responds with, I've accepted my darkness.
He's too dangerous to be kept alive.
I know, basically. He's like Mace Windu this scene.
But also, I'm like, Osha, don't believe him. Please.
I know, right? But Chimera's kind of right. Like, what do you? He says like, what have you done with yours? And that's like one of my favorite lines of the episode. Like, what have you? And this is a great quote because we've been asking, Torpin and Konaka are, really much are really hurt by what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much Soul and Indara. Soul really, as we see here, covered his darkness. How? What's going to be going on there? So we'll get to that. But then, of course, Soul separates and Kami responds with rules, rules, rules. If you never have to follow them, you never have to break them. As he turns towards Osha, Osha tells Soul, hey, turn off your lightsaber. And she says, sorry, Pip. Throws it at
Lost Pip.
And we lost Pip. Yeah, Pip kind of dies in this episode, even though he kind of gets retrieved at the end by Basil. So I think there is hope for him to get reprogrammed or reattached. So yeah, the bugs come in. I love the symbolism, guys. Light, the same things that Osha felt in terms of like first signs of life that she felt on the planet. She's using light to attract them to the darkness, to get rid of the darkness. Osha using light as an advantage. Is that showcasing how Osha has an inner light within her, even in the face of darkness, as we see in the upcoming episodes? Like, will Osha continue down this light path, or will she be swayed by Chimera's words?
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see.
Also, I did think it was like a wonderful choice to have the bug creatures take Chimera away. I thought that was
loved that.
Very great, very Star Wars with like the nature overtaking the evil of the galaxy. Agreed.
Great point. Nature always wins. At the end of the day, nature usually always wins. We saw when when Bo-Katan and they went back to Mandalore. They went there to the Gardens, and nature was starting to return to a scarred Mandalore. The Gardens were starting to come back, even after what the Empire had done to Mandalore. Nature always, at the end of the day, wins, and it's very cool to see that happen here. And monsters that were initially deemed with fear and like we have to kill them ended up saving us. So it's cool. So then that distracts Chimera. Obviously, was not going to kill him, but Osha is desperate for info. She asks Soul, why? What was he talking about? And Soul, kind of breathless, says, I was playing everything. And then he's stunned by a woken up May. And then we cut to Osha and May having a conversation here. And this is interesting here. She says, what have you done to May? What have you done? This is exact parallel to what Osha says to May when they reunite when they were kids after the fire had erupted. What have you done, May?
But Osha, May does not fire back.
No, she doesn't. And wasn't that interesting, Nathan, here where May doesn't retort a lot. She kind of embodies it and is more so.
She's very like collected. She's calm. She's hurt. You could tell. Yes. But she's also very sympathetic. She's like, Osha breaking down the situation again that we saw the bias of her side in the flashback, and May's just kind of heartbroken, just like they brainwashed you. But like in a very like she deep down like really believes that that's what's happened, and maybe we really don't know yet.
I was listening to a podcast. I think What the Force. I think they said like, what if Osha was in fact the one that started the fire, and she envisioned May starting the fire? That'd be crazy. But either way, it kind of reminded me of like, ideally, I would have loved if Rey was the one that accidentally killed her parents instead of her parents just running away. I mean, we know now they didn't run away, but either way, yeah, man, May takes a much more level-headed approach to this conversation, a more loving approach. I was actually more on May's side of things in a way than Osha. Osha was still so much like not brainwashed, but going through the script of what she thinks May is, despite everything that's happened. Granted, she hasn't seen everything that's happened. All she's seen is like, gotta capture May. May did kill all these Jedi, and Dara and Torben. And she's running away. And I caught her. And this is the first time they've seen her. She hasn't seen what we've seen in terms of like, Osha's back. I'm turning myself in. Osha didn't see that. So when Osha says like, let's see here. she says, the Jedi are more family than you ever were. And May says, but the Jedi invaded. And then May says, they brainwashed you, like you mentioned. And Osha says that May started the fire. And May doesn't refute. And she says, it's more sympathetic. She says she can help Osha return to herself. This is when she starts hugging her. She says, don't choose them again. Choose us. I love you. This is May giving an olive branch to Osha. The same May that is willing to, with Soul out of the picture, stay with Osha. I think in this moment, I think May really wants to stay with Osha, run away from the Jedi, and run away from the Sith, the stranger, Chimere. If May had her way, I think she would really very much like to run away with Osha. But Osha's not on the same wavelength. She hasn't. May is at the stage of her. May, in terms of Osha, in contrast to Osha, in terms of her heroine's journey, May is way past the age of acceptance because she has knowledge that Osha doesn't, coming from Chimere. Now, granted, Chimere's knowledge might be more biased or might be different from what actually happened. We'll have to wait and see from Soul's perspective. But Chimere has something that he told May, and May kind of has that knowledge that Osha is missing. And because of that, Osha still can't accept the love that is coming off of May. She can't accept her other half, which is May, literally. She can't accept her other half. She can't accept the love that May is feeling towards her. And because of that, Osha is refusing to accept her darkness. Osha has all the light in her. She loves Soul. She appreciates the Jedi. She has all this light in her. But we are already starting to feel the cracks. She continuously asks Soul what happened. And I think she's eager for more information. She's, spoiler alert, as we move on from the scene, she removes the hug. She tries to arrest May. May knocks her out. Before that, she says, all we have is each other now. I love that line. And she says, what kind of life is that without love, without family? She's like, I had the Jedi. And she's like, the Soul led you nowhere. May's not wrong. When Osha starts this story off, she's an engineer living alone. She didn't even go to a party with the other engineers or med techs, whatever they're called, mechanics. And is that a positive life for Osha? If the Jedi never came, is it a good life for Osha to continue being a mech for the rest of her life? I don't think so. I think Osha still has to come to terms with her darkness. She has to come to terms with her past. Very similar to Rey, where she had to come to terms with what happened, at least in the TLJ sense, come to terms with what happened, that she was a nobody. And then, she was able to healthily move on from there. And, yeah. And then Tross happens. But, she has to move on from there. But then Osha hasn't had that moment yet. And I'm very curious to finally see something. I was kind of disappointed where she's like, dang, you're still not listening to May. But that's why the next 3 episodes are for. They're really going to get into Osha's mindset here. But May, disappointed and I think heartbroken that Osha still can't accept her, no matter how honest May was being in that moment. And May knocks her out and has a symbiotic change. She quite literally and physically as well becomes Osha. She is switching sides. And what does this mean for her character? What is May's motivations now? Well, I'll get to that in a second, but this is a very big change. Hair cutting has always been a sign of physical and inner change within a character. When Zuko cuts his hair off in the beginning of Book 2 of Avatar, he cuts his hair off because he failed his main mission that he's had for years in terms of finding Aang. He failed at the Northern Water Temple. He feels like his life is meaningless. He cuts his hair off, and his Book 2 journey is about finding who he is without his mission, who he is without the Fire Nation. Of course, it comes running back when Zula gives him a golden opportunity in Crossroads of Destiny. But we only have 3 episodes left. And for me, I think May changing her hair is a sign of her crossing that threshold. And May both cuts off her hair and leaves the Dark Forest in a fairy tale sense. And this time with Soul. Just like Snow White leaves the forest with Prince Eric. And it's very interesting. I'm like, is May going to unintentionally go down a positive route, even though she's possibly doing something bad? We'll have to wait and see. But May's whole physical change is very awesome to me, and I love the Parent Trap of it all. It's just very fascinating. What do you think about May doing this?
I thought about Alien Covenant.
Oh, in what sense? Oh, duh.
In the sense of spoilers to Alien Covenant. David takes the place of Walter, the good android, taking the place. And, David being the one that's actively developing the xenomorphs into their harsh nature. And now he has all the entire crew under his command in cryosleep that he can presumably experiment on for however long. A fucking frightening ending. I love it.
That was a baller ending. Yeah.
It really was. And I was like, I can't wait for Alien Awakening.
Never happened.
Romulus, no.
We're going to get some answers here with May, and I want to kind of lead in, because I had no clue what May is up to. Leslie, on the other hand, gives us some solid teases of what May will be up to. She says, that could lead to a reckoning for Lee Jung-jae's soul. May says, they've brainwashed you, Leslie Headland notes, and part of her mission is not just to finish off her kill list. Now that her sister's alive, part of her mission is to prove how the Jedi, and especially Soul, are not who Osha thinks they are. And this is what's next for May. Very interesting. May is on a mission. She just got told by Osha herself, verbatim, like I just said. The Jedi are my family. And May refutes, saying that's not a good family to have. They invaded our home. And of course, Osha refutes that. Like, they didn't invade us, but clash of ideals there. But either way, she hates the Jedi. May feels like Osha's connection to the Jedi is the only thing separating her from being with May. And May still loves Osha. That's a given still. I still think so, at least, even after this scuffle. And she wants to prove the Jedi, especially Soul, are not who they think they are. She's going to unknowingly kill a Jedi without a weapon. I think unknowingly May is going to continue that mission that Chimera sent her on by proving Soul is not who Osha thinks he is. That's going to break Soul. However that gets out, however that information gets out, that darkness within Soul is going to get out. And how that affects Soul now? I used to think, like, how is that information going to affect Jackie and Yord? But, like, how is that information going to personally affect Soul? Is he going to die by the end of this series, or is he just going to become broken? I'm even more along those lines now that May is on this mission with him. I don't know what May's going to do. She's going to be like, hey, Soul, tell them what you did. I don't know how it's going to be executed. But I think Vernestra might be a witness to it as well.
I'm curious as to how it's all going to go. I would be intrigued if we were to get some time where Soul does admit to his faults that May was always aware about. And then maybe something could lead to another where May uses the same trick that the witches use on Torvin and uses it on Soul. But in doing so, maybe in peering in his mind, maybe sees how Soul treated Osha all these years and how good he was to her. And maybe she could get a different perspective of maybe not like Soul completely, but of what Osha believes in,
I love that. Like, it kind of goes into what I was saying, right? Like, maybe May might realize how good the Jedi actually are. In this case, what Soul actually is. Soul did some good post-saving Osha, but we don't know what Soul did before saving Osha. But Osha's retelling, or Soul's retelling to May, might be different from what Chimera told May. You know what I mean? Soul could be like, yes, that's true. I did kill so-and-so. But before that, this is my perspective of what happened to May. And maybe May might be healthy enough to take that in and be like, okay, I see your point of view, even though it ends with the Coven all being dead either way. So I don't know how May's going to take it personally, but I think we might be on the right track. I think May might be susceptible to Soul's honesty. however it gets laid out there. But the information is going to be coming from different directions, as well as we have a new dynamic entering the front as Chimera returns, as well as Basil and May. Spoiler: May and Soul enter the ship. Blah blah blah. Basil's right behind them, but we get to Osha and Chimera. And this is the meatiest dynamic moving forward. I like I mentioned earlier, I'm gonna need every Osha and Chimera storyline, plot line for the next 3 episodes. I cannot wait. Where's he gonna take her? What's gonna happen? So he says to her, "What extraordinary beings we are. Even in revelation of our triumph, you see the depth of our despair." Whoo! This is a layered quote here. So we have to see what happens here. Let's see. So Osha and Manny Jacinto says this. He teases what's next. He says, Osha is going to want to hear some of the things that the stranger has to say. Jacinto teases amusingly. And I think that's very much true. Unlike, or kind of like The Last Jedi, where we got a forced bond and Rey was kind of forced to hear Kylo's side of the story. In this case, Osha is going to be wanting to hear Chimera's side of the story about what happened. I think this even more kind of alludes to Chimera being at the planet at that time. We'll have to wait and see. But Chimera he knows a lot of information. He's going to tell her some information. We know a flashback is most likely happening in episode 7, but could we see something, a little bit of it in episode 6 as well? I would like it. But also, where does Chimera take Osha? And what does this line mean for Manny Jacinto in terms of what extraordinary beings we are? I think in that case, he talked about the Sith. We're extraordinary beings, Force users, or the Sith are. Even in revelation of our triumph, you see the depth of our despair. I think breaking that line down, for me, it kind of alludes to even of our triumph. I'm revealed. I killed a lot of Jedi. The despair is that he's still, still not free. The despair is that he still lacks acknowledgement from the Jedi. He still lacks that freedom that he still wants. The Sith still need. The Sith are in a cornered position right now. That's the despair I think that he's feeling. Or the triumph could be like he finally has a pupil in possibly Osha. It's a very layered, interesting line. What do you think about that in revelation of our triumph?
It's tricky. It's something like you really gotta like sit with, I feel like, and meditate on.
Yeah.
But I mean, it could just be a matter of how to say. It's like you seem like you're in a situation where like you've gotten what you wanted, but you're like no step closer to your ultimate goal.
Yeah, he's one step closer. Yeah, one step closer to his ultimate goal, and
I'm about to break.
And I'm about to break. And yeah, if he successfully gets Osha, if he successfully gets the freedom he desires, that could be very bad for the galaxy. But also, he could help set Osha free, because Osha, in a sense, is still bottled up. Half of her, she's unable to accept. A little half of her, she's unable to accept May, the darkness, her past. Once that gets accepted, we're going to see the true Osha. Whether that's good or bad, she could be really swayed by Chimera's words.
Oh, Arjun.
Thank you, Arjun. And Leslie teases again, the first half of our season, episodes 1 through 4, was really about the father-daughter relationship. So you're going to see more of the sorry, never mind. We focus more on the sister dynamic in the first half of the season between Osha and May. In the next half, you're going to see more of our father-daughter dynamic as we get into the end of the season. So it's dynamic not only with Osha, but with May as well. So very curious to see Soul's dynamic with May, how it compares his dynamic with Osha. If it gets revealed soon that May is that Soul knows that it's May, maybe not. But however that gets revealed, I'm excited to see Soul's just post losing a Padawan. He lost another daughter, guys. He lost Osha before when Osha left the Jedi Order, and now he lost Jeki. But now Osha's back, but she's May, so it's complicated, and I really feel for Soul.
It's up in the air if he'll figure out on his own if May that Osha is May, because Basil gets back on the ship. He's pretty aware that by scent alone you could tell that's not May, that's not Osha rather.
Exactly.
But the only person who could translate Yord is gone. But he also picked up Pip, so maybe also a mixture of Pip being reactivated and Basil go freaking out might be enough for Soul to be like, something's up here.
Yeah, but Soul doesn't know Basil's language.
Yeah, true. But I mean, like, if we reactivate Pip, because Basil picked up Pip on his way back.
True. Yeah.
If Pip is also like, that's not Osha. What the hell's going on?
Yeah, that's gonna be exciting. But yeah, there's going to be a reckoning for Lee Jung-jae. I think this next half of the season is really going to be about like Lee Jung-jae, Soul really coming to terms with what he's done. The audience coming to terms with what he's done. Osha, from Chimera's perspective, coming to terms with what Soul has done. We're finally going to get into the heat of what happened in the past, and how that's going to affect the present is anyone's guess. There's so many conversations, interactions that I cannot wait to see come to pass with Osha and Chimera. Like Osha and Chimera's dynamic is just, again, so freaking interesting. Because again, Osha has been unable to accept her darkness, and Chimera is all about like, I've accepted my darkness, and he's desperate for a pupil. And I'm very curious to see how this all ends. Is May going to help Osha come to terms with her past, and then they both help defeat Chimera? Is Chimera going to last past season 1? When does it get to season 2? But the way that Manny talks about it in the DW article, I think Chimera kind of lives. I don't know, because Chimera says, I've never had so much fun playing this character. I mean, Manny says he's never had so much fun playing this character, basically. He says, when she first told me about my character, I thought this was an actor's dream role to be able to do this, that switch. He says, and that passion just fueled me all the way through until the end of filming. I don't really know how I can do anything else after this. I think I should just retire because I think this is it. It's a very delicious role. And he's killing it right now. It's one of Star Wars' most instantly interesting characters. So we'll see. I'm very curious to see what happens with Osha here. Again, because of the switch, you could see May go to the dark, or May go to the light, Osha go to the dark. It's so many cool possibilities.
You know what? Okay. I want you to like if you have any theory to pose how Soul is gonna tell that it's not Osha and that it's May. Do you think he'll have a tell? Because I thought of one.
I haven't thought of one. What do you think?
Well, he knows that Osha has a tattoo on her arm.
On the arm. Yeah.
May wouldn't have that tattoo.
May has a tattoo that Osha doesn't.
Both, actually. It's both.
Osha has a tattoo on her arm too?
Yeah, she has.
Duh. You're right.
Which was exposed in the
episode 2
when Chimera finds her. Yeah. But also yes. But yes, also May has the print on her forehead that he knows Osha does not. So there's that.
Would it be cool? Soul figures out May's not Osha, but keeps it to himself.
No,
right? Like,
odd.
What if May is like changing, or bad terminology, but like, what if May like just casually takes away the civilian robes or whatever? Soul casually sees the arm thing. He's like, oh, but he doesn't say like, what have you done with Osha?
Yeah,
he's more so just like, what are you going to try and do? I'll keep on acting dumb. That'd be really cool.
That would be nice.
We'll have to see what happens.
I want to see Soul's wits.
Me too. But also, we're getting Broken Soul for the next 2 episodes. I want to see that even more so. So yeah, that was it for this episode. Went a lot longer than I thought we would, but there's just a lot to talk about here. There's a lot of fighting, but characters are moving. Their allegiances might be changing, and emotionally, we're heading down a dark yet interesting path for the next 3 episodes.
I'm sorry, I thought of a thing. It's like, what if like a circumstance happens where like some shit goes down, and as you say, Soul is aware that it's May, but like protects her all the same. Maybe Soul goes down. And he reveals that he knew it was May, but he protected all the same, and that could change something in May. Fucking A.
Soul hated how he couldn't save both of them. He tried, but May fell, and he got Osha. Yeah, that's also part of his darkness. So, like we've been saying, Soul showcasing the light of the Jedi might have a positive effect on May, while for Osha, hearing what truly happened to her parents might have a bad effect on her.
Coin flips the sides of both of them. That'd be insane.
Let's see it. I hope it happens. But if it does happen, I think May is again going to officially really trying to help Osha. She loves Osha. She doesn't want Osha to go down a dark path. But you guys can find me on Twitter, HarrisEV9, tweeting more about the Acolyte. I'm loving the Acolyte. We're gonna do more episodes next week, of course, as we wind down the season, because I know we're getting a season 2. I'm loving track and field. The Olympic trials end this weekend. We're doing this on Thursday because I'm busy this weekend, going out of town. But next week, we're going to continue with our X-Men Fox Marvel commentary. If you did not watch our X-Men Apocalypse one, it was a lot funnier than I thought it was. Go watch that. We posted that yesterday. And next week, we are doing the best movie of all time, Logan. Right, Nathan?
Yes, we're doing Logan.
I hurt myself someday, right?
Today.
There we go. I love that song. Like and subscribe so you can hear all that. Follow my Twitter so you can catch up to what I'm doing, all the other stuff. If you like House of the Dragon, another podcast dropped on Monday as I'm recapping every episode with Edgar Ortega. So, having a good time.
Nice. And you follow me at _TimeBuzzer, making a show called Time Buzzer with co-star and creative consultant Evan Harris.
Playing Ben, who is not like Osha or May, and is going to stick to the good side, at least in season 1.
From this point of view, Anakin. No, you're right. He's the Yord if we're being real.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Should Charlie voice act him instead?
Yeah, you've been replaced. I'm sorry.
Okay, I get it. Do you know how much Charlie costs compared to me?
The budget we don't have, I'm pretty sure.
Probably. But yeah, okay.
So that being said, Evan said all the things. I hope you have a great day. May the force be with you always.
Ring the bell.
Yes.